All right, last one, I swear. We just talked a little bit about the difference between um, fats and oils. So I try to like to say lipids, solid lipids are fats, liquid lipids are oils. And as you can tell, that's most of the time the fats are coming from animals and the lipids are coming from plants. There's always exceptions, but for the most part, that's a pretty good rule of thumb. Let me see if there's something I'm going to add. Oh yeah, the main functionality of what these fats do. The big one is these fats are. Do I have this pulled up somewhere? Right about there. These are basically long-term energy storage. So if we go back to our carb analogy, you've got the $1 bills that are your monosaccharides, your $5 bills, which are the disaccharides, your $100 bills are those big complex starches. So if you had to go out and spend a whole lot of money, you would kind of go with what's in your pocket, which might be the ones and the fives, and then the party keeps going a little bit. You've got to go, like, I guess I got to actually pull out my wallet, pull out the 20s and 100s, and then eventually you're like, oh my god, I'm out of money. I've got to go to where the bank where I keep my money stored. That's how your body is. It burns those carbs first, those really simple carbs, then it burns the more complex carbs, and then you burn your complex starches. Only when that's all used up do you start to burn your long-term energy storage, which is your fats. That'd be like the pulling the money out of the bank. But that's not the only reason we do it. Yes, it is long-term energy storage, but we also use fats to the oils on our skin keep us from drying out. In the case of Arctic animals, elephant seals and whales and walruses, they have all that blubber on them. That's insulation. Your kidneys, for example, we use fat. That's the love handles that gentlemen have. That's the reason that's actually there is your rib cage doesn't go down long enough or far enough to cover your kidneys, so they're basically nestled in a nice little fat cushion that does a great job of cushioning the kidneys. But love handles, we don't love them. Our cell membranes, as you'll see in our or maybe you already did see in the water lab, we separate the water level outside of a cell from the water inside a cell. Those two bodies of water are kept separated by cell membrane, which is made out of lipids. With plants, they of course have cell membranes as well, but the biggest thing is whenever plants disperse seeds, they put a little drop of oil inside those seeds because it will last that seed, which is a living organism, believe it or not. Its metabolism is so slow that tiny drop of oil will last a super long time, considering how energetic it is and as slow metabolism that seed's going to have. So they have cell membranes, super high energy. Basically, fats will. Fat is so energetic, we can burn it. We used to harvest whale oil and use it to burn lamps for hours and hours. And I think I have all that right there. Phospholipids are a very special kind of lipid. Basically, let me see what's important about it here. This is a phospholipid right here. They have a hydrophilic head and hydrophobic tails. This is basically attracted to water, and the tails are fatty, as the name would suggest. And you can see, ooh, look at that, it's bent. Does that make it saturated or unsaturated? Unsaturated. It's got so these tails are greasy. So this is oh, there it is, right there, hydrophobic, hydrophilic. This is actually what makes your cell membranes. They are very special kinds of lipids. You have the hydrophilic head pointing out, and you've got hydrophilic heads pointing in. So this would be outside the cell, and this would be inside the cell. And there's a greasy layer here, and these actually can slide past each other. That is the cell membrane itself. So water-loving, water-hating, water-hating, water-loving, water. Outside the cell membrane, greasy. Inside the cell membrane, greasy. This becomes greasy, and then that's water. Hydrophilic, hydrophilic, hydrophobic, hydrophobic, hydrophilic, hydrophilic. So that's how the biggest thing is lipids made up our cell membrane, which is wildly important. Steroids and hormones are usually made of lipids. That's why high cholesterol foods, steroid, they're very similar. We've noticed that young ladies are going through puberty at a much younger age than before in old times. Back in the old day, it's because of our high cholesterol, high fatty diets. It's actually, there's enough of the growth hormones and enough of the steroids and the sterols that girls are getting their periods and menstruating much younger than historically has been shown. That's kind of an American phenomenon as well. You don't see that in like indigenous tribes. Their menstruation ages haven't increased at all. It's just us eating those greasy, fatty, hormone-injected foods, which are so delicious. So this is the last one, nucleic acids. Trying to wrap this up as quick as I can. These are basically your genetic materials. We had carbohydrates for energy. We had proteins to basically do stuff, move stuff, and build stuff. We had the lipids, which can be everything from long-term energy storage to water insulation to all types of things. Nucleic acids really do one thing. They are genetic material. They are the instructions to tell your body how to build you. You are made up of 60 trillion cells. A friend down the road is made up of 60 trillion cells. And those cells are identical. Those bones are identical. The only reason you're different is because the DNA in those cells is telling them to build someone else. So nucleic acids, once again, we have these monomers. This right here, what you're looking at, this is the monomer. This is called a nucleotide. It's got a nitrogenous base, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbon sugar called a pentose. Remember, sugars end in ose, and a phosphate. So this is your monomer. You start stringing these together, and you're going to get this polymer right here. So there's that sugar, phosphate, and base. There's your monomer, stringing it together via a condensation reaction or dehydration synthesis, and you're getting the very familiar double helix or twisted ladder for DNA. So that's what we have right there. The DNA, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. Excuse me. I should have said RNA. RNA is just basically one strand of this. It's not a double helix. If you took that helix and split it in half and you had a single strand, that's RNA. I'm not going to really talk about these because we will have an entire unit before we go into genetics where we really talk. You'll know DNA so in depth it'll make your head spin or twist like a helix. Haha. So that's basically it. Sugars make polysaccharides, or simple sugars make complex sugars. Fatty acids and glycerol. If you're taking notes, you might want to add that in there. They don't have glycerol in those. Fatty acids and glycerols make fats. Lipids. What a bunch of idiots. Basically, glycerols and fatty acids make lipids, which, if it's a liquid lipid, it's an oil. If it's solid lipid, it's a fat. Amino acids make proteins. The special bond here is a peptide bond. Nucleotides make nucleic acids. That's basically the whole deal. And once again, here's that map we looked at earlier. This should now make a lot of sense. Proteins are made of amino acids linked by peptide bonds. Remember, you need to have certain of those 20 amino acids memorized. Nucleic acids might be DNA or RNA. They are made up of nucleotides that have bases, a pentose, and a sugar. Lipids can be either fats or oils, which are saturated. They could have split that up better. If it's a fat, it's solid room temperature, has straight chains. If it's a oil, it's going to have liquid at room temperature and have those kind of bent up chains I was talking about like this. They can't stack as tight. They can't get close together, and they tend to form liquids. And then over here you have your energy from your carbohydrates. Main source of energy, we use lipids as a backup just in case. And I believe that's it. So sorry that took so long. This one basically was, I think, 2 15-minute lectures, and this one was about 9 minutes. So, a quiz. I'm going to let you guys take this on your own. So good luck.